Princess Zara stood in the Grand Council chamber of the Veltar Empire, her silver scales shimmering with barely contained anger. The massive holographic display showed her new bodyguard assignment, and she could not believe what she was seeing. "A human?" she asked, her voice rising. "You assign me a human for the most dangerous diplomatic mission of the year?" Council leader Vex shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His 4 arms moved in the traditional gesture of apology, but his words carried the weight of final decision. "Princess, the Galactic Protection Academy has certified this guard for your mission. His name is Ben Torres, and he has completed all required training." Zara's tail lashed behind her, a clear sign of her frustration. She had seen the test scores. Humans were new to the galactic community, discovered only 5 years ago on a small planet called Earth. Their physical capabilities were laughable compared to other guard species. Where a Cronin warrior could lift 3 tons, humans struggled with 300 pounds. Where a Zephyrian could run at speeds of 60 miles per hour, humans barely managed 20. "Look at these numbers," Zara said, pointing at the holographic data. "Strength rating, below average. Speed rating, barely adequate. Combat experience, minimal. This human barely passed the academy. How is he supposed to protect me on Kethmora?" Kethmora was known throughout the galaxy as one of the most dangerous worlds still inhabited by civilized species. Its jungles contained predators that could tear through battle armor. Its mountains hid creatures that hunted in packs and showed no fear of technology. Many experienced guards had died there, even when working in teams. "The academy instructors assure us that Ben Torres has special qualities that make him suitable for this assignment," Vex replied carefully. Zara snorted, a sound that echoed through the chamber. "Special qualities? Like what?" "The ability to run away very slowly." Despite her protests, the decision was final. 3 hours later, Zara found herself waiting in the royal transport bay for her new guard to arrive. She had dismissed her usual team of 6 Cronin warriors, each one capable of destroying a small building with their bare hands. Instead, she would travel to one of the galaxy's most dangerous worlds with a single human who could probably be beaten in arm wrestling by her younger sister. When Ben Torres finally arrived, Zara's first impression was even worse than she had expected. He was of average height for his species, about 6 feet tall, with brown hair and dark eyes. He wore the standard academy uniform, a simple gray suit with basic protective plating. No visible weapons decorated his belt. No scars marked his face to show combat experience. He looked like exactly what his test scores suggested, a barely qualified trainee who had somehow talked his way into a job far beyond his abilities. "Your Highness," Ben said, offering a polite bow. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "I am Ben Torres. I have been assigned as your protection detail for the mission to Kethmora." Zara studied him with growing disappointment. "How old are you, human?" 24, Your Highness." "And this is your first major assignment?" "Yes, Your Highness." Zara felt her heart sink. Not only was he weak and slow according to his test results, but he was also completely inexperienced. She began calculating the odds of survival for their mission and did not like the numbers she reached. "Tell me about your training," she said as they walked toward the transport ship. Ben's response was basic and straightforward. "I completed the standard protection course at the academy. Physical conditioning, basic combat techniques, threat assessment, emergency protocols, and diplomatic security procedures. Any special skills? Advanced weapons training? Survival experience? Some wilderness training, Your Highness. Basic medical knowledge. I am familiar with various planetary environments and their associated dangers." His answers were textbook perfect but completely unremarkable. Zara had heard more impressive qualifications from academy students still in their first year. As they boarded the sleek transport vessel, she wondered if this mission would end her diplomatic career before it truly began. The ship was a standard diplomatic cruiser, equipped with comfortable quarters, a small crew, and defensive systems suitable for peaceful missions. As they departed the Veltar homeworld, Zara tried to make conversation with her new guard, hoping to discover some hidden talent or experience that his file had missed. "Have you studied the briefing materials about Keth Mora?" she asked. "Yes, Your Highness. Class 7 planet, heavy jungle coverage, multiple apex predator species, unstable weather patterns, and significant geological activity. The indigenous Kethmorans have requested diplomatic contact but maintain their settlements in heavily fortified mountain cities." Again, his response was perfectly adequate but showed no special insight. Zara pressed further. "Are you concerned about the predator situation? The files mention creatures that have killed experienced security teams." Ben considered her question for a moment, and Zara noticed something odd in his expression. For just an instant, he seemed almost amused, though he quickly returned to his professional demeanor. "Every planet has its challenges, Your Highness. Proper preparation and awareness usually provide adequate protection." The casual confidence in his voice surprised her. Most guards, even veteran ones, showed some concern when discussing Keth Mora's dangers. Ben spoke as if he were describing a routine patrol through a city park. Their journey proceeded normally for the first 2 days. Ben maintained a professional distance, checking security protocols and staying alert but never seeming tense or worried. Zara found his calm attitude both reassuring and slightly irritating. She had expected more obvious preparation for such a dangerous mission. On the 3rd day, everything changed. Zara was reviewing diplomatic protocols in her quarters when the ship suddenly lurched violently to one side. Emergency alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. She grabbed the nearest support rail as the ship shook again, this time accompanied by the sound of metal being torn apart. "Hull breach in Section 4, came the panicked voice of the ship's captain over the communication system. "We are losing power to main engines. All personnel prepare for emergency landing." Zara rushed to the bridge, where she found chaos. The crew was frantically working at their stations while warning lights flashed red across every surface. Through the main viewport, she could see the green and brown surface of Keth Mora growing rapidly larger. "What happened?" she demanded. "Meteorite swarm, Your Highness," the captain replied without looking up from his controls. "We could not detect them until impact. Main engines are offline, and we are losing altitude fast." Ben appeared at her side as if from nowhere, his calm demeanor unchanged despite their desperate situation. "How long until impact?" he asked the captain. "Approximately 8 minutes. We are trying to reach the landing coordinates near the Kethmoran settlements, but our trajectory is failing. We will crash in the deep jungle, at least 50 miles from any civilization." Zara felt cold fear creep through her scales. The deep jungle of Keth Mora was a death sentence for most species. The creatures that lived there were known to attack anything that moved, and the dense vegetation made rescue operations nearly impossible. Even if they survived the crash, their chances of living long enough for help to arrive were very small. "Survival equipment?" Ben asked, still sounding strangely calm. "Emergency packs in storage compartment 7, the captain answered. "Food for 3 days, basic medical supplies, portable shelter, and distress beacons." Zara noticed that Ben nodded as if this information confirmed something he had already expected. While the crew continued their desperate attempts to control their descent, he moved through the bridge with quiet efficiency, checking various systems and supplies. "Your Highness," he said, appearing beside her again, "I need you to gather any personal items you cannot replace and meet me at compartment 7 in 4 minutes. Bring only what you can carry easily." Something in his tone made her obey without question. As she hurried to her quarters, Zara realized that Ben's voice had changed. The quiet, almost timid quality was gone, replaced by clear authority and complete confidence. When she returned with a small bag of essential items, she found Ben waiting with 2 emergency packs and what appeared to be additional supplies he had gathered from other parts of the ship. He handed her one of the packs and checked the straps to ensure it fit properly. "Stay close to me after impact," he said. "Do not move away from the crash site until I have assessed our situation." Are you trained for wilderness survival? Zara asked, hoping for any reason to feel more confident about their chances. Ben looked at her for a moment, and again she caught that strange expression that seemed almost like amusement. You could say that, Your Highness. The ship struck the surface of Kethmora with tremendous force, throwing Zara against the nearest wall despite her safety harness. Metal screamed as the vessel tore through massive trees and finally came to rest at an angle, half buried in the jungle floor. When the noise stopped, an eerie silence filled the air. Zara checked herself for injuries and found only minor bruises. Ben appeared to be completely unharmed, already moving to check the condition of the crew. Captain and 2 crew members are injured but stable, he reported. The ship's communication system is destroyed, but the emergency beacon is functioning. However, rescue teams will have difficulty reaching us in this location. Through the cracked viewport, Zara could see the jungle that surrounded them. Massive trees rose hundreds of feet overhead, their thick canopy blocking most of the sunlight. Strange sounds echoed through the vegetation, none of them familiar or comforting. Ben began unloading supplies with methodical efficiency, organizing everything into categories that seemed to make sense to him but mystified Zara. As he worked, she noticed that his movements had changed completely from their time on the ship. Every action was precise and purposeful, as if he had done this exact thing many times before. How do you know what to do? She asked. Ben paused in his work and looked around at the jungle surrounding them. When he turned back to her, Zara saw something in his eyes that had not been there during their journey, a kind of ancient confidence that seemed far older than his 24 years. Experience, Your Highness, he said simply. We should prepare shelter before nightfall. The real predators come out after dark. As if responding to his words, a deep growl echoed through the jungle, followed by the sound of something large moving through the undergrowth. Zara felt her scales stand on end with fear, but when she looked at Ben, she was surprised to see him smile for the first time since they had met. As the sun began to set over the jungle canopy, Ben worked with steady focus to prepare their temporary camp. He had cleared a small area near the crashed ship and arranged their supplies in what seemed like a random pattern to Zara, but she noticed that every item had been placed with careful thought. Why did you put the medical kit there? She asked, watching him position their emergency shelter. Easy access from 3 directions, Ben replied, testing the stability of a support pole. If we need it quickly, we can reach it no matter which way trouble comes from. Zara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cooling air. You expect trouble from multiple directions? Ben stopped his work and listened to the jungle sounds around them. The normal chirping and buzzing of daytime creatures was fading, replaced by deeper, more ominous noises. Something large crashed through the underbrush about 100 yards away, followed by a sound that might have been a roar or might have been something else entirely. On Kethmora, trouble always comes from multiple directions, Ben said. The predators here hunt in coordinated groups. They have learned to surround their prey before attacking. The way he said it made Zara look at him more carefully. His voice carried the tone of someone who had studied these creatures extensively, not the basic knowledge of a trainee who had read a few files. How do you know so much about Kethmoran predators? She asked. Ben glanced at her, then returned to his preparations. The Academy requires detailed study of planetary dangers for all protection assignments. It was a reasonable answer, but something in his manner suggested there was more to it. Zara had taken the same Academy courses as part of her diplomatic training, and she did not remember such specific information about hunting patterns. As darkness fell, the jungle transformed completely. The temperature dropped 20 degrees, and the sounds changed from the rustling of small creatures to the deep calls of things that moved with purpose through the night. Ben had finished their shelter and was now doing something with materials from the crashed ship that Zara could not identify. What are you making? She asked. Perimeter markers, Ben said, attaching small devices to trees in a circle around their camp. They will give us early warning if anything approaches. Zara watched him work and realized that these were not standard emergency supplies. Ben had created the devices himself using parts from the ship's systems, and he had done it with the skill of someone who understood technology far beyond basic training. Where did you learn to build things like that? Practical experience, Ben answered, activating the last device. Sometimes the standard equipment is not enough for unusual situations. The first warning came 2 hours after full darkness settled over the jungle. One of Ben's perimeter devices gave off a soft beeping sound, and he immediately became more alert. Something is approaching from the east, he said quietly. Large, moving slowly. Zara peered into the darkness but could see nothing beyond the faint glow of their emergency lights. The jungle was a wall of black shadows broken only by strange shapes that might have been trees or might have been something else entirely. Should we hide inside the shelter? She whispered. Ben shook his head. That would trap us. Stay behind me, but be ready to move in any direction. The beeping from the perimeter device grew faster, indicating that whatever was approaching had moved closer. Other devices began to activate in sequence, creating a pattern that showed something circling their camp. Multiple contacts, Ben said, his voice calm despite their dangerous situation. At least 3, possibly more. They are testing our defenses. Zara felt her heart racing. She had read the reports about Kethmoran predators. They were described as massive creatures with natural armor plating and claws that could cut through metal. A single one could destroy an entire security team. Then she saw the first one. It emerged from the jungle like a living nightmare, standing nearly 8 feet tall with muscular limbs and a head full of razor-sharp teeth. Its dark skin seemed to absorb light, making it difficult to see clearly even when it was only 20 feet away. The creature's eyes glowed with a pale yellow light as it studied their camp. Keth Stalker, Ben said quietly. Apex predator. Natural hunter. The creature took a step closer, and Zara could hear its breathing, deep and steady like a machine built for killing. She wanted to run, but Ben had told her to stay behind him, and something about his calm presence kept her from panicking. Why is it not attacking? She whispered. It is deciding whether we are worth the effort, Ben replied. Keth stalkers are intelligent. They do not waste energy on prey that might be dangerous. The predator took another step forward, then stopped abruptly. It lifted its head and sniffed the air, its nostrils flaring as it caught some scent. For a moment, it remained perfectly still. Then something extraordinary happened. The massive creature stepped backward. Its aggressive posture changed to something that looked almost like confusion. It sniffed the air again, more carefully this time, and took another step back. Zara could not believe what she was seeing. The Keth stalker, one of the most feared predators in the known galaxy, was retreating. What is happening? She asked. Ben did not answer immediately. He was watching the creature with an expression that seemed both satisfied and unsurprised. The Keth stalker continued to back away until it disappeared into the jungle, leaving only the sound of its heavy footsteps fading into the distance. I do not understand, Zara said. Why did it leave? We were easy prey. Sometimes predators recognize when they have encountered something more dangerous than themselves, Ben said. Before Zara could ask what he meant, another perimeter device activated. This time the warning came from the west, and within minutes 2 more Keth stalkers appeared. These were even larger than the first, with scars that showed they were experienced fighters. The same pattern repeated itself. The predators approached with clear hunting intent, caught some scent in the air, and then retreated with obvious reluctance. One of them actually made a sound that resembled a whine before disappearing back into the jungle. This is impossible, Zara said. Keth stalkers do not back down from anything. The reports say they have attacked armed military units. Ben was quiet for a long moment, listening to the jungle sounds. More creatures were moving out there, she could hear them. The night was full of predators, but none of them were approaching their camp anymore. Ben, she said, using his name directly for the first time, what is really happening here? He turned to look at her, and in the dim light of their emergency beacon, Zara saw something in his expression that made her take a step back. It was not fear or concern. It was the look of someone who was completely in control of a situation that should have been terrifying. You want to know why the Academy scores for humans are so low? Ben asked. Yes. Because we are not trying to impress anyone with our test results. We are trying to avoid attention until we understand how this galaxy really works. Zara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the jungle air. What do you mean? Human beings evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill us, Ben said. For millions of years, we survived alongside predators that make Keth stalkers look like house pets. Creatures that hunted in packs of hundreds. Animals that could track prey across continents. Things that were stronger, faster, and better equipped than we were. He gestured toward the jungle around them. Do you know how we survived? Zara shook her head. We became the thing that even the predators were afraid of. We did not evolve claws or armor or natural weapons. We evolved something much more dangerous. We became the species that other creatures instinctively recognize as the ultimate predator. As if to prove his point, another creature appeared at the edge of their camp. This one was different from the Keth stalkers, with a longer snout and multiple rows of teeth. Zara recognized it from her briefing materials as a jungle ripper, a pack hunter known for its vicious attacks on anything that moved. The ripper approached until it was close enough for Zara to see the details of its scarred hide. Then it caught the same scent that had affected the other predators. Its aggressive posture changed instantly. The creature lowered its head in what looked almost like a bow, made a soft whimpering sound, and slowly backed away into the darkness. They can smell it, Ben said. Every predator has instincts that tell them when they have encountered something at the top of the food chain. Humans carry genetic markers from millions of years of surviving against impossible odds. We may not look dangerous to civilized species who judge by test scores and physical measurements, but every natural predator in the galaxy recognizes what we really are. Zara stared at him in amazement. You are telling me that the Academy scores are fake? That humans are deliberately hiding their capabilities? Not fake. Just incomplete. The tests measure current physical abilities, not evolutionary advantages. A human might not be able to lift as much weight as a Cronan warrior, but we can survive in environments that would kill most other species. We can think our way through problems that stop others completely. And we carry something that even the most dangerous predators respect. Throughout the night, more creatures came to investigate their camp. Zara lost count after the 10th predator appeared and then retreated without attacking. Each time, the pattern was the same: approach with hunting intent, catch the scent, and then withdraw with obvious reluctance. Some of the creatures were enormous, larger than anything in the Academy files. One appeared to be a pack leader of some kind, accompanied by 6 smaller hunters. They all backed away after encountering whatever invisible signal Ben was producing. How many species know about this? Zara asked as dawn began to lighten the sky. None of the civilized species understand it yet, Ben replied. They see our test scores and assume they know everything about human capabilities. The predators know better because they trust their instincts more than data files. As the sun rose over the jungle canopy, Zara began to see their situation in an entirely different way. She had spent the night expecting to die, but she realized now that they had been perfectly safe. Not because of technology or weapons or shelter, but because her human guard carried something that made every dangerous creature in the jungle recognize him as a threat they did not want to face. Why did the Academy really assign you to me? She asked. Ben smiled, and for the first time since she had met him, it was the smile of someone who was not pretending to be less than he really was. Because your father specifically requested a human guard for this mission. He knew where we were going. As morning sunlight filtered through the jungle canopy, Zara watched in amazement as more creatures emerged from the forest. These were not the nighttime predators that had visited their camp. These were the legendary hunters of Keth Mora, species that even the planet's natives feared to encounter. A pack of void serpents slithered into view, their black scales gleaming in the filtered sunlight. Zara had read about these creatures in the most classified diplomatic files. They were pack hunters that showed no fear of any known species. Military reports described them as unstoppable killers that attacked anything that moved through their territory. The lead serpent approached within 10 feet of their camp, its massive head swaying as it tasted the air with a forked tongue. Behind it, 5 more serpents formed a semicircle, each one large enough to swallow a grown Veltar whole. Zara held her breath, waiting for the attack that would surely come. But instead of striking, the lead serpent lowered its head toward Ben in what looked unmistakably like a gesture of respect. The other serpents followed suit, creating a scene that no diplomatic report had ever described. "They are showing submission," Zara whispered in disbelief. "Not submission," Ben corrected. "Recognition. They understand what I represent." The serpents remained in their respectful positions for nearly a minute before slowly retreating into the jungle. As they left, Zara heard sounds that she had never associated with deadly predators, soft chirping noises that seemed almost like farewells. "How is this possible?" she asked. "The files say void serpents fear nothing." Ben checked his perimeter devices and began packing their emergency supplies with the same calm efficiency he had shown throughout the night. "The files are written by species that have never encountered a true apex predator. They measure danger by size and strength and weapons. They do not understand that the most dangerous predator is the one that does not need any of those things." As he spoke, more creatures appeared. A family of razor bears emerged from the undergrowth, each one standing 8 feet tall with claws that could tear through tree trunks. They approached the camp's edge, sniffed the air, and then did something that made Zara question everything she knew about Kethmoran wildlife. The massive bears sat down like trained pets, watching Ben with what appeared to be curiosity rather than hunger. When he moved around the camp, their heads followed his movements with alert interest. "They are treating you like a pack leader," Zara observed. "Humans have been pack leaders for a very long time," Ben replied. "It is one of our evolutionary advantages. We can form cooperative relationships with other predator species." The bears remained at the camp's edge for another hour, seemingly content to watch and wait. When they finally left, they moved slowly and looked back several times, as if reluctant to go. By mid-morning, word of their presence had apparently spread throughout the jungle ecosystem. Creatures that normally hunted each other were gathering peacefully near their camp. Zara counted at least 12 different predator species, all maintaining respectful distances while keeping Ben in sight. "This is unprecedented," she said. The Academy files described Kethmora as a constant battlefield between competing predator species. "They should be fighting each other. They recognize a higher authority," Ben explained. "When a true apex predator is present, territorial disputes become less important than showing proper respect." The most amazing sight came when a creature emerged that Zara had thought was merely legend. The Shadow Walker was described in ancient Kethmoran stories but had never been confirmed by modern science. It stood 12 feet tall, with limbs that seemed to bend in impossible directions and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. This creature approached closer than any of the others, stopping just 5 feet from Ben. For a long moment, the two regarded each other in silence. Then the Shadow Walker did something that made Zara's scales stand on end with amazement. It spoke. The words were in a language she did not recognize, but the tone was unmistakably respectful. Ben responded in what sounded like the same language, his words carrying the authority of someone who expected to be obeyed. The Shadow Walker bowed deeply, then turned and disappeared into the jungle as silently as it had arrived. "You can communicate with them?" Zara asked in astonishment. "Predator communication goes beyond language," Ben said. "It is about understanding hierarchy and respect. Most civilized species have forgotten these basic principles." Around noon, the sound of approaching aircraft broke the jungle silence. Zara looked up to see 3 rescue vessels heading in their direction, their advanced sensors no doubt having finally located the crashed ship's emergency beacon. "Rescue is arriving," she said with relief. Ben nodded but continued his preparations. "This will be interesting. They are about to see something that will change how the galaxy views human capabilities." As the rescue ships descended toward a clearing near their camp, every predator in the surrounding jungle began to move. Instead of fleeing from the noise and activity as Zara expected, they emerged from hiding and formed what could only be described as an honor guard. The void serpents arranged themselves in parallel lines leading from the crash site to the clearing. The razor bears took positions at regular intervals, sitting at attention like ceremonial guards. Dozens of other predator species filled the spaces between them, all facing the path that Ben would need to take to reach the rescue ships. The rescue team consisted of 6 Cronin warriors and 2 Zephyrian pilots, all heavily armed and expecting to fight their way through hostile jungle to reach the survivors. When they emerged from their ships, they stopped in complete bewilderment at the sight before them. Princess Zara called the team leader through his communication device. "We have located you, but we are seeing unusual animal behavior. Please confirm your status." "We are unharmed," Zara replied, still staring at the incredible scene around her. "The local wildlife has been very cooperative." That was perhaps the greatest understatement of her diplomatic career. As Ben shouldered his pack and prepared to escort her to the rescue ships, the predators began to move in perfect coordination. They formed a protective corridor that led directly to the waiting vessels, with the most dangerous creatures taking positions closest to the path. "They are seeing us off," Ben explained to the stunned rescue team as they approached. "It is considered polite to provide safe passage when an apex predator leaves their territory." The Cronin team leader, a veteran warrior named Drac who had fought in 12 major conflicts, looked around at the assembled predators with obvious disbelief. "I have never seen anything like this. These creatures should be attacking each other, not forming organized groups. They recognize proper authority when they encounter it," Ben said simply. As they walked through the corridor of predators, Zara noticed that many of the creatures made soft sounds that seemed like farewell calls. Some touched the ground with their heads as Ben passed. Others simply watched with what appeared to be genuine respect. The Shadow Walker appeared one final time, emerging from the jungle to walk alongside them for several steps before bowing deeply and fading back into the forest. When they reached the rescue ships, the team leader pulled Zara aside for a private conversation. "Your Highness, in 30 years of rescue operations, I have never witnessed anything comparable to what we just observed. How did a human trainee manage to achieve this level of cooperation from apex predators?" Zara looked back at Ben, who was calmly helping load their supplies while maintaining polite conversation with the other team members. "I think we have greatly underestimated what humans are capable of." During the flight back to civilization, Zara contacted her father through encrypted communication channels. "Father, you knew this would happen, did you not?" The image of Emperor Veltar appeared on her private screen, and she could see satisfaction in his expression. "I suspected it might. Humans have been in our galaxy for 5 years, but we have only seen what they choose to show us. I wanted to understand what they were hiding. Why did you not warn me?" "Because you needed to see it yourself to believe it. Now you understand why I am arranging the new alliance treaties with Earth. We are not dealing with a primitive species that needs our protection. We are dealing with something far more ancient and powerful than we realized." As their ship approached the Veltar homeworld, Zara found herself viewing galactic politics from an entirely new perspective. Every species in the known galaxy had judged humans based on their academy test scores and assumed they were weaklings who needed guidance and protection. "Ben," she said as they prepared to land, "how many other humans are in positions like yours throughout the galaxy?" "More than you might expect," he replied with that same quiet smile. "We believe in learning about new situations before revealing our full capabilities. And now we have learned enough. It is time for the galaxy to understand what humans really are." 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council received a comprehensive report about the Kethmora incident. Within days, every major government was quietly reviewing their relationships with Earth and reconsidering their assumptions about human capabilities. Princess Zara found herself appointed as the chief diplomatic liaison to the human government, a position that suddenly carried far more importance than anyone had previously realized. As she prepared for her first official meeting with Earth's representatives, she remembered the sight of dozens of apex predators showing respect to a human they had initially dismissed as barely qualified. The galaxy was about to discover that humans were not just another species seeking membership in galactic civilization. They were the species that even the predators recognized as the ultimate survivors, and their time of hiding their true nature was finally over. When the final alliance treaties were signed, they were not agreements to protect humanity, but agreements to ensure that humanity would protect everyone else.